All right. Welcome once again to Impulse's Watch Party. We are doing the year 2014 this year. Thank you all for joining in. We have a fantastic panel put together. We're going to talk about that year's tour. We're going to talk about the show. And then, of course, we'll watch it right here live on Facebook. We have been uploading our previous watch parties to YouTube with the videos swapped out for a clean copy. So if you've been looking for some of these shows, you haven't seen them in years, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us out in that fashion. We are also we have launched, Impulse Youth Arts Organization has launched an online institution called the Impulse Institute to teach basically anything you want to learn that we have a teacher for with no prerequisites on a month-to-month basis. So if you want to brush up on your clarinet skills before an honors audition, but then you want to get ready for the drum corps scene that's coming up and take some mellophone lessons, you can do that every single month. You can learn more about that at www.impulseyoutarts.org. We are also doing an alumni limited edition run of the Impulse Zot caps that you can only get as a member. If you've lost yours and you're an alumni, or you would like a new one, we are doing a limited release of it that has your years embroidered on the side. You can find out more about that on our Impulse alumni Facebook page or on the website. Last, we are looking for more alumni to get involved. We have openings on our board of directors. And we are also doing a truck cleaning this Saturday to go through and get everything ready for the eventual launch of a new season. So if you would like to come help us out with that, please email us either at corps director@impulseyoutarts.org or secretary@impulseyoutarts.org, and we'd love to get connected with you. So with all of that aside, if you've got any memories or comments you want to drop, I'm watching the feed on a second computer here. Make sure your comments are family friendly as this is going out to everyone, and we'll get this thing started. And let's go with introductions, starting with Mark Young.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mark. Let's see. I know I've done this like 3 times, but I feel like I always forget. But let's see, I played bass 2010 to 2011. I did snare 2012 and 2014, which is the year we're on. And that's my age out year. I was staff as the percussion caption and program coordinator since 2018, and started Instinct, independent open WGI group. And I also marched Pulse Open World in 2012, and I'm involved in theater, devising and performing different pieces kind of in the Los Angeles area. And I teach multiple schools in the beach cities, the SoCal area.
Next up, Ariana.
Hello, I'm Mariana. 2014 is my rookie year through 2019. I am currently a college student and I've done Emerald Independent.
Next is Xander.
Hi, I'm Xander. I played Contra. 2014 was my rookie year and also my only year in Impulse. And now I am in school and also working at the NPR station where I live in Missouri and developing a podcast called The Way Home about veteran issues. Look out for it in the next couple months. Should be good.
Next up, Robert.
Hello there. My son marched Impulse 2012, 2013, 2014. So I was a core dad at that point. In 2014 was the first year that I got involved and ran the SoCal Classic, our annual home show. And I did that for 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Around the end of that time, I became the treasurer for Impulse Youth Arts Organization. And I continue that role up till today.
Next up, Dean.
I'm Dean. I marched Impulse from 2014 to 2017. I played baritone for the first 2 years, and then I switched to Contra the last 2 years. Now I am in college. The only music that I do is with my college's pep band, and occasionally I'll write some pep tunes.
And Trevor.
Hi, I'm Trevor. 2014 was my rookie year with Impulse. I played Contra all 4 years though, 2014 through 2017. If any of you turned up at the recruiting booths for high schools for up through maybe 2018, 2019, you might have seen me or remember me as the guy at the booth who tried to get you to come on tour with us. And that's right now I'm still going to school and just working full time.
And actually, I don't mean to interrupt, Aaron, but for those of everybody who's watching on Facebook, if you heard a voice but can't see a video camera, that's Trevor. Because apparently, he doesn't have a camera, but apparently his name box on Zoom doesn't even pop up on our Facebook live stream. So you'll just randomly hear a voice, and if you don't see any mouse moving, know that it is Trevor.
All right, and since you just spoke, why don't you introduce yourself, Raphael?
Oh yeah, I'm Raphael. I marched Impulse from 01 to 05. I played Euphonium in 01, Contra 02 to 05. I came back in 2017, jumped on the board. In 2018, I taught visual. I'm still on the board. I'm currently secretary and co-hosting this watch party with, Aaron to my left somewhere. Still on the board, and currently I teach music at Duarte Unified.
And last, my name is Aaron Zaniger. I was a founding member in 99. I marched 01 through 03 as a mellophone. I cooked 04, 05. I recruited 2008, and I've been the core director since 2018. I'm also the current director of the Impulse Institute, and whatever the heck else they asked me to do. So once again, welcome to the watch party, and we're going to start with our questions.
Okay, first question goes to Ariana, Dean, Xander, and Trevor. And maybe I'll have you guys answer in that order. You guys all mentioned this was your rookie year. Man, it's all rookies except for Mark. Rookies in an age out. So what brought you guys to Impulse? And let's start with Ariana.
Well, for me personally, it was because my siblings were in it. I had two sisters in the color guard, and my older brother was in the horn line. So that was for me, that was mainly why I joined, and my parents were the cooks. So I knew they were all gonna be at Impulse, and I was consistently at the rehearsals. So that's one of the reasons I personally joined. So.
And would you mind telling us who your siblings are?
Sterica, Reynoso, Viviana, and Ruben.
There you go. Yeah. All right. And Dean, what brought you to Impulse?
Basically my brother, my dad. My dad pretty much helped start it. I wasn't really old enough or didn't have the skill set to join until about high school. Didn't really have anything to do over the summer. They needed a hole filled, and Robert, my brother, was like, "Here, come do this. Here, play this baritone." I'm like, "Okay, I'll see what I can do." And then I guess the rest is history.
All right, Xander, what brought you to Impulse?
So I was friends with Patrick Ye. And he played Contra a couple of years prior. And we ended up, we being me and Trevor, ended up going just, I think, out of interest. Trevor just said, "Oh yeah, Patrick and I are going to Impulse this weekend." And I was like, "Cool, I want to go. Let's go." And I originally was gonna try to do battery, and then somehow I fell into Contra, and the rest is history.
And Trevor, what got you to Impulse? Although taking speaking, I think Xander just answered half your question.
Yeah, mine was pretty much the same thing. Went because Patrick Ye dragged me there the year before, decided not to march, watched drum corps, regretted it, came back the next year, said, "I'm going to march something this year." I tried out on bass drum, got cut, and then Sean, the bass tech at the time, was like, "They need tuba players, so if you want to march, I already knew how to play tuba from my high school when Xander got caught. He didn't know anything about tuba, but he's like, man, I'll pick up a horn and I'll learn, which shows you if you think you want to march, but you play a woodwind or you get caught from battery, march something. The staff will teach you.
Yeah, and I think that's the one great thing about Impulse is the fact that, I mean, we've had a lot of people come through here and not knowing, many saxophones for some reason, but they come through here not knowing how to play brass instrument, and they end up being great players and continue on to play. Like, for example, we have Kyle Spraker who plays up in Massachusetts somewhere. But I mean, but yeah, that's the one unique thing about open course, especially Impulse, that staff will be willing to take the time and teach you how to play. Although I find it amazing that if both of you guys had made the battery that year, we would have no tubas this year because you guys were the section.
Yeah, it would have been rough. We started out with a
Started
couple
out with
more.
7. We had 7 tubas at the beginning. The drill was written for 6 tubas. And when we started to learn the drill, we ended up like having to take turns, like swapping in the 6th person. And then at the first show, we had 4 tubas, and then 2 of them left. The only 2 people who actually knew how to play tuba left, with the 2 of us who did not know how to play tuba at all. It was great.
If you watch the
no
drill,
worries. And I'll cut you guys off in a bit because we will get to that a little bit later. That we don't get too much into that. But let's continue on with our next question.
Okay, Robert, this was your second year volunteering with the Corps, but this year you were handed the mighty responsibility of running the SoCal Classic, our home show. How was it like to be in charge of that? Walk us through that.
Hey, attending the show is easy. Organizing it is a whole nother task, and it was definitely a learning process. And there's so much that goes into it as far as, first of all, securing a space. And I think Bellflower High School was having construction that year, so we could not use that field. We ended up at Gar High School, and their band director there had some drum corps roots, and so he knew the drill. We ended up having the show there, and then just all the logistics, contacting all the participant corps, figuring out parking, figuring out warm-up areas, figuring out the flow of people in and out of the stadium. And then I think we were doing a walkthrough a day or two before the show. And I said, yeah, so who does the announcing? And there's a couple of blank stares. We didn't have an announcer at that stage. And we were able to get a very good announcer at the last minute, a guy that really knew what he was doing. So that saved the day there. But anyway, it was a learning experience, and each year just got a little simpler each time.
Well, thank you for volunteering and taking that over, because quite a task.
Yeah. All right, Mark, here's a question for you. How was it as a challenge to perform a drum corps style drum solo in such a common, recognizable classical music?
I would say, like, as far as the challenge being, like, how is it to play the drum solo in the type of music? I wouldn't say that in itself was a challenge. I would say more that the vocabulary that was given was probably, more of a challenge, just because we were just doing our job and playing the notes on the page, right? But it was definitely very appropriate, especially considering that for the size of the battery compared to the size of the horn line, in this year, it was like we had to play with a lot more, I guess, like finesse, right? Like throughout the show. So it was really cool to have that approach going into the drum solo, but also knowing that this is also our time to actually like play out and let loose a little bit, right? But yeah, I would say the vocabulary definitely from like years past, like for Impulse, or at least when I was a part of it, like that was definitely, one of the tougher books we played, and within reason, because we had the snare line there was a lot of vets. I think the only rookie that year may have been Ricky, who ended up going off to play like Blue Devils and RCC and stuff, and then another guy named Isaiah. The rest of it was like me, Will, Trey, Brian Basolto, and Wyatt and Sean, right? So it was a lot of fun. And then, I know that was like the snare line, and then looking at everyone that we had on the basses and the cymbals and the quad line too, it was just a lot of talent, a lot of vets, so it was definitely a fun line. And the fact that we were all, essentially familiar with the staff and Nico's book and everything, I think being able to, like he was definitely able to write a lot more for us, I would say, right? And then it just essentially lended, everybody else, like the rest of the staff, to be able to like trust us to play the notes that were on the page. So, but yeah.
So the next question, sort of a continuation of what we were talking about earlier, which was our mighty two tuba players this year. So walk us through a little bit what it was like taking over, not only as being new to the instrument, but then carrying on with the music in that season, and what was it like to push through, being not only new but being the rock of the brass section. Let's start with Trevor, and then maybe Alexander. Walk us through what that was like.
It was hard, especially because neither of us came in as experienced players. Xander had next to no experience. I had only played for about a year at my high school, but Jeff and the brass staff took a lot of time with us to make sure we learned how to play the instrument properly, how to breathe. And we had separate parts though. So I usually played the lower parts, Xander played the higher parts, and we had separate parts for almost the entire show. And you just kind of had to learn when you were allowed to breathe and when you weren't in the show. It's really easy to time out your breathing with only two people.
And back to what he was saying about the brass staff, it wasn't to the staff, it wasn't about getting us to play the show loudly or perfectly. It really was about us learning how to play the instrument, and the show came secondary to learning how to play the instrument properly. That was always the focus. The focus was never, being loud enough that we could be heard over, the whole brass line or, anything else. It was all about the music and making sure that the technique was as close to perfect as two first year or second year players could be.
Cool. All right. Ariana, here's a question for you. During the show, the color guard uses rather vibrant colored flags that seem to get brighter as the show goes along. Did it have anything to do with like the storytelling, Dusk to Dawn?
I'm not fully sure, only because during that time I was 14. So like I was just going with the flow and what to use and what to tape onto the poles. So I'm not fully sure, but I think for me, I think it just went more with the music, and not honestly in what the music was like, whether it was like angry or sad. So it just really depended on the music for me. But like I'm not fully sure.
Geez, when you were 14, you didn't look up and go, what's the meaning behind these silks? I mean,
No.
why am I using these?
He's like, not yet.
All right, Robert, what kept you around Impulse and then onto the board since those earlier years? I mean, you had just walked us through taking over the SoCal Classic and all of the things that went into putting on the show. What kept you to continue to come back and help this core out?
I just thought it was a very positive experience for Will for the 3 years that he participated, and I enjoyed the people. I knew that a group like this needs volunteers and people to do the task it takes to get the core on the road or rehearsing and all that. So I just the fact that it was such a valuable experience for Will. I look forward to coming back for the remaining years and even to this day, 2 or 3 years after Will has aged out of the entire activity, I'm still here involved in Impulse.
And of course, we thank you for it because you're definitely a help every single year.
All right, Mark, next question is up to you. So you took a year off of the Corps. You did not March 2013. So why did you have to take that year off? And what made you come back? And then this is a two-parter. The second part of my question is, we talked about how this is your age out year. What made you decide to stay with Impulse your entire Drum Corps career and especially like this year, your age out year, go off and be like, you know what, I'm going to go off to another Corps. I'm going to go to like Santa Clara or Blue Devils, What made you go, here's what I want to age out?
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with the first part, right? Naturally. I took the year off just because of school and work, really. Like I started teaching, at a number of different schools, and it was one of those things where if I was going to march Drum Corps, it was going to take me away from, like being at some of those weekend rehearsals or being at those competitions. So I felt, I definitely felt responsible to wanting to be there, at those events. And then also with school, right? Like I was just I was at Cal State Long Beach in the percussion program, and there was just so many different ensembles that I was in. I mean, it was like every ensemble we were in 1 unit classes, and that was pretty much what my schedule was, and maybe 1 GE, right? And so at the time, it was just like, from a financial standpoint and time standpoint, it just really wasn't lining up, But knowing that the next year was going to be like my last year that I could march, like DCI and everything, I just chose Impulse because I wanted to play with my friends. Like, I mean, as childish as that might sound, it's like that's kind of what I was in it for. I mean, that's why I was there from the get-go. Like, I was like, hey, like I know a couple of my buddies were going to be involved, and I wanted to do something at a different level. And also just the idea of like finishing out my, I guess, like Drum Corps career in the place that I've been the whole time, as opposed to working out somewhere else. That was more appealing to me. Was like, I'm a builder, right? Like I'm all about like what is the legacy that we want to leave behind, and how are we going to plant seeds in the garden now for those that are going to come after us, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I was there like to show that, hey, like I chose to age out here. Here are my reasons why. Like I love the staff. I love the progress that we were making. I was seeing growth, and the people that are that I was marching with, then are like some of my friends, like close friends now, and so just to be able to show that to anyone that was like coming in also, and then to also be there like, hey, I knew that maybe in my rookie year, or some of my early years, maybe there were things that I would have liked from some of the vets or whatever. So maybe that was something that I could provide. And, like, it's funny that Ariana's on the call. Like, she was someone I looked out for, like, the whole year. Like, before every show, I'm like, hey, you good? All right, cool, you good? Like, so, but yeah, so it was definitely more like, like a responsibility thing, but also just like a fun thing, some selfish reasons, just because, again, like, my friends were in it, and a lot of them were coming back, and it was just, if I had to choose between being in a line that I was already friends with, and there were a lot of vets, you know what I mean, like and just auditioning somewhere else where I wasn't really going to know anybody, 100% of the time I'm going to choose, you know what I mean, like where I know I'm going to have a great time. Yeah. And yeah, and then like the staff, like they were really cool, and like Nico and my relationship was also like progressing, and he was I was very fortunate, being on a good page with him, and, like gigs were starting to like appear and surface, right? So it was just one of those things where it's like, well, Nico essentially was there for me since like 2010. And like, I wanted to just make sure, I'm like, hey, if I'm going to age out, like I'm going to age out with you, and whatever you need, me to do as a vet, like, let me know, I'm going to help you out. Right. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I have another side question for you, Mark. And this is from a conversation that we had a couple weeks ago. And you have a very good relationship with somebody who was supposed to be in the panel, actually Robert's son, Will. So you mentioned how, the year you started on a snare, you mentioned to me that both of you guys made the snare line, and you guys were like on opposite ends. And this
Right.
year, you're both like next to each other. How was that?
Yeah, that was cool because like 2012 again, that was my first year on snare. His rookie year, he was also on snare. I think he was one inside the other side, and I was on the end, on the opposite side, right? And so being able to come back in 2014, and just him being like one of my friends, and like once we were at auditions, I mean, like we were pretty much just talking as if like picking up where we left off, and that's where I got to meet like some of the new guys. And then see old familiar faces, see who marched here the year before, right? And it was just really funny because I think that line, and if anyone's watching, I'm sure they could vouch, but I vividly remember just like going to rehearsal, setting our equipment up, and the line naturally kind of set itself like after audition as far as like the order, like like Will and I just kind of stood next to each other. I think Trey went on the other side of Will, splitting center, and then it just kind of like formed itself, and we were all just kind of vibing that way. And then Nico goes, I think we're just going to stay with this order. And we were like, okay. And then we just kind of went for it from there. So, but yeah, no, it was super cool. It's always cool to see the progression and the growth, right? And again, just being able to leave a legacy and let others know like, hey, we started, years ago, and this is what we were doing. This is where we ended. And honestly, by the time you all are going to age out, y'all better be like, significantly better than us, at least that's the kind of culture we wanted to leave, was just like, don't think that where we're at is the cap. It should be, like further than that, because we were able to help, provide that information on the front end, as far as like veteran leaders.
Yeah. All right, Dean. Next question to you, Dean. And Ariana, you can answer this question too. But I'll start with Dean first. So everybody tends to have an adjustment period when they're part of something new. So this was your rookie year. So I mean, you mentioned to me earlier that most of the time you had to like you're trying to get used to the core. You're adjusting. Was it any easier for you? And Ariana, this for you too. Was it any easier for both of you guys to adjust? This being your rookie year, since your siblings have been part of the core already. Yeah, I'll start with Dean first.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely was like super easy. I mean, he Robert basically like brought me into the core, and it was nice having somebody like tell you like what to do, like what to do and what not to do. Like before, like I had the chance to like get it wrong. So I'm like, oh, okay, good. So like nobody like suspected that I was like new, even though everybody knew I was new. It just like kind of helped. Yeah, like where to stand, where to go, what to do, like get in line here, don't move there, stuff like that. Yeah, it was definitely super easy, or a lot easier than if he was never there and it was just like me at some like other core. Yeah.
Cool. Ariana?
It was most definitely easy for me, only because I had two sisters in the color guard especially, so I had a lot more guidance, especially that for them teaching me. Because like with me, like I was 14, I didn't know what I was doing, so like it was very adjustable. It was easier for me to make friends too in the core, so like I adjusted pretty well.
All right. It's about time for us to be jumping into the show here. So for those of you that are tuning in, this is the Impulse 2014 show from Dusk till Dawn, I believe. Yes. I hope you all are enjoying what you've been doing. Stick around afterwards. We're going to answer some more questions, reminisce about this showing. I also had one of our alumni coordinators dropped in our chat down here. His name is Eric Escobar. He's starting a virtual project with alumni to sort of play our core song. So if you're interested in doing that, please message him, and he would love to send you the music and then do that recording. But without further ado, this is the 2014.
Wait, Aaron.
Yep.
Aaron, what is his email? How can they get a hold of him?
I just said he's in the chat. So if you're watching this on Facebook right now, his name is Eric Escobar. You can click on him and send him a message. He said if you're interested as an alumni. So go ahead and message him on Facebook, and he'll happily get in contact with you. Or you can email me at coredirector@impulseyoutarts.org, and I'll send you the information as well. So here we go. 2014.
Henry Sue and Zach Freeman. Are your corps ready? Ladies and gentlemen, performing their 2014 program, Dusk to Dawn. Drum Corps International is proud to present from Winter Park, California, this is Impulse.
All right, and we're back. Before I start the next question, can anyone remember why the show was called Dusk to Dawn? Any takers? Any remembers? Any faint memories?
I'll take it.
Okay.
We started in the night with the symphony and then moved throughout the phases of the night until we got to Ode to Joy, which was supposed to be the sunrise coming up.
Yeah, Trevor.
Nice. All right, and now having watched the show, we're going to go around the members and talk about your favorite moment, whether it's your favorite moment watching it or your favorite moment marching or favorite moment playing, whatever it is, your favorite moment from the show. And let's start with Mark.
Sweet. Yeah, that was cool. I remember like actually playing that. I was like, man, it's a lot of notes. You know, like Beethoven's good music, you know, like, and so the fact that they were able to put that many notes in and still, you know, make it appropriate and musical, like, that's awesome. Let's see. Yeah, I dug the drum feature. I mean, that's like a no-brainer. That's kind of what we spend a lot of our, you know, time like waiting for that moment to do that. But the first impact, actually, like, I think my favorite part was definitely the first time we get to the jump, 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 jump. You know, like that was you know, like the build up to that, and then being able to arrive and, you know, just really like let loose. I know that was already, honestly, anytime the battery got to let loose, like that was always good news for us. You know, it means that the horn line was definitely projecting and doing their thing, and we were able to play, you know, the music as it was written. So, but I just remember like it was such a good way for us, I guess, to get into the show like from the get go, because it was just like boom, and then everything was like fortissimo, and then obviously all the like cool little licks in between, and then moving there, we just already had that energy and adrenaline moving forward. So yeah, I would have to say that's my favorite part of the show.
Ariana, how about you?
For me, it was most definitely the drum feature because, you know, I was on flag line, so I could actually like pick up my rifle equipment and have that power. So for me, it was most definitely that moment and just hearing that power from the drum line, especially.
Alexander.
So, in trying to figure out what my favorite part was, I remembered about the pit and just how much they played through the entire show. Like, that's just not something that you really see happen very often in drum corps, where the pit is constantly playing the entire time, and it was awesome. But past that, the last like probably 20 to 24 bars in the closer, where we just had the drill with the rotation and then all of the like classic, you know, collapsing and forming shapes that all the big drum corps did. I remember learning those, and when it finally like happened, it was like, that's dope.
Robert, as a proud parent of the corps, what was your favorite moment of the show?
I might go with the drum feature first of all. That was a big moment, but also the huge that huge moment during Ode to Joy. That was fun. That was a fan favorite. Someone yelled impulse at just the right time. It was well crafted. So those are my two favorite parts.
Dean, what was your favorite part?
Favorite part of the show. Good question. I mean, there were so many parts that were made special by everyone for so many things during rehearsal. I liked Ode to Joy. I liked the percussion feature where we had to turn around. We got to do. That was like my first experience doing like dance moves or just like visuals with the horns. I forgot what it was called. I haven't done it in so long. I'm like, wait, what are they called? Dance moves? Yeah, just tilted and turn around. It was used to have a lot of fun in rehearsal. Yeah, it was. I think that is definitely my favorite part, and like Ode to Joy. Yeah, definitely a tie between those two.
And Trevor, what about you?
Yeah, I have a really hard time picking between the opening impact. As you know, the brass comes in, the drums are filling in those bars in between and the pauses. and Ode to Joy was just great. Vince is up there in the stands yelling impulse. You fake out the company front, go back for more into that collapsing drill. I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably be the closer.
Oh, all right. Well, along the same lines, this time, what was your favorite moment of the season? So it doesn't have to be show related, but the entire season. You know, it could be like a rehearsal, the tours that you guys did, any trips that you guys did. But what was your favorite moment of the season? And I'm gonna start with the person in the black hole, Trevor.
You know, I remember having a really good time at the Ogden show. It's such a cool stadium. The crowd was great. Watching some of the other cores, and especially Blue Knight's encore, was really fun that year. And I think there was a rehearsal with some rain. I might be mixing that up with 2015 because we went there too. Sometimes they blur together.
That was
But Ogden, it was okay. My bad. Did we do the drums in the park that year though, Dean? Mark, did we do the drum off in Ogden in the middle of the town before the show?
Oh, maybe. Actually, yeah, I think so. I
think,
completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
we had
there was a parade, and then we like at some random parking lot in the middle of the town. There was a drum off.
Yeah, I think we had a rehearsal, the drum off, and then the show all in the same day. It was exhausting, but it was great.
Cool. So you guys did go out of state then this year.
Yes. I think we went up to NorCal, Washington, into Utah and Nevada, then came back down.
Okay, maybe after this question, we'll have some other questions about you guys going out of state. But Dean, what was your favorite moment of the show? Of the season, not the show.
That is a very, very difficult question to answer. My favorite part of the season. Oh, man. I'm still thinking about it. I have to say, what was it? I think Rookie Talent Night was the most interesting. I think it's because we were all.
What is that? What is that? I don't know if I know what that is.
Oh, it was. Crap.
All right, age out.
No, yeah, that's that was a dream actually. That never happened. I just came up with those three words.
You told me about the dream.
That's right. Yeah, everybody here. Yeah, no, yeah. What I meant to say was no. There was this one moment in one of the season. It was very funny when we were handing out all the wristbands for the to get into the show. I forgot what show it was, but Zach was handing out the wristbands to each of the section leaders, and I was doing whatever, and then I hear a commotion. I turn around, and I see Xander and Trevor reaching for Zach's arm, and they're both like demolishing him, like the big bubble, like in cartoons, the big fight bubble, all the like tumbleweed. They're just beating up Zach they're like, no, I'm the section leader. No, me, give it to me. That was my favorite moment.
And I can tell that
I have no recollection of that event. I think it's fabricated.
Same.
All right, Xander, what was your favorite
section?
When I got promoted to section leader.
I dispute that claim.
Dispute, please.
It's really tough to pick one moment, partially because the entire season blurs together and I have no idea what happened when, just because that's life, I guess. But I can't remember what show it was, but the announcer asked, "Are your core ready?" And no idea. I don't remember what show it was. I just remember that we were all standing out on the field, and like you could hear when he said, "Are your core ready?" People in the field started to laugh, and it was just like this. Oh no, we're gonna have to figure out how to not die for this entire show until we can get off the field and talk about it.
That's funny. All right, Ariana, what was your favorite moment of the season?
Well, it was kind of a blur, but I briefly remember during the rehearsal, the color guard, we were having a really bad run, and I just remember falling, picking up my rifle, and then I just tripped. And I remember one of the girls, Eli, ended up laughing at me. And then I remember our instructor, Shauna, she yelled at me and why I fell. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't know what happened. So I just remember getting yelled at because I fell.
All right, before I go to Mark, Robert, did you go on tour this year, unlike last year, or if you did, but either case, what was your favorite moment of the season, whether you were on tour or not?
So I did not go on tour, but this is probably uh, the season that really sucked me into the whole drum corps cult thing, because after our season ended, we did a road trip and went to San Antonio for the big show, and saw all the world class corps playing after that. So that was my postseason memory. But throughout the season, I know Will did a really good job of recruiting members from within his high school, and every rehearsal and that we'd show up, we'd meet in the parking lot of the school, we'd load a Suburban full of members and drive down, and we always stopped at the donut shop right off the freeway, loaded up on donuts and coffee or orange juice or whatever, and then went to rehearsal at Marina. So just driving down, that was my role. I think that season was the transportation coordinator. We called ourselves the 710 crew because we're always going down the Long Beach Freeway.
All right, Mark, same question to you, but I'm going to adjust it a bit. What was your favorite moment of the season? And this being your age out year, how does that compare to all your other years?
Yeah, I think my answer may have actually touched both, to like both parts of your question. But I would say, yeah, the Ogden, Utah show was definitely like one of my favorite moments of the season. And I'm pretty sure we had shows after that. Like I think we had like maybe like one or two shows, you know. And I can't remember if it was Washington. I thought maybe it was Idaho, but I mean, like maybe we can clarify that like as we move forward. But yeah, I actually remember at the end of the Ogden performance, like after we had played our last note and we were going off the field, that's where the emotions actually hit me. Like I actually was just like crying off the field, you know what I mean? But we have to play X Factor still, so I'm just like, hold it together, like, you know, and I just remember that just being like a very just like a special moment. Like I don't know, it was it may have actually been the last and I could be wrong. It could have been like the last show out of the state, you know, and then we were like coming back, and I think we had like maybe one or two shows left to do. But I do remember that was just like a very cool moment. I thought we had like a really good run. Everything about it, like from the lot and like going onto the field, just felt really cool, you know. So I just felt like there was really good vibes. And then yeah, and I'm pretty sure like aging out definitely had a lot to do with it. Like, oh man, like we're really approaching the end, you know. I feel like that happens to me a lot. Is that like it's not like the end that like hits me. It's like when I know it's like right around the corner. That's where it actually starts happening for me, I think. But yeah, another thing I guess like has totally relevant to like the show, or like it was like just being on the bus. I think it's like appropriate, but like I know the battery tried to see how many people can actually fit in the bathroom. And so there's like and so I'm pretty sure that was this year, and there's like a video too, so it's like, okay, cool, we're good, okay, you like turn the video on, and you would just see it be closed, and then it would open, and like one person comes out and it closes again, and then it opens and another person comes out, and there was like 12 of us or something. Like
So it was like a clown car.
We did pretty good. Yeah, I was pretty surprised, you know, like every time we thought like, oh, we can't do it anymore, we're like, no, get in here, you know. There was always one more small person. So
All right, but how does this year compare to all your other seasons, this being your age out year?
oh yeah, this was by far my favorite, you know. Again, it was just like so many good vibes, like and maybe it was like definitely going into it knowing that I, you know, like had 3 years like under my belt already, and wanting to make sure that I was I guess like a figure or role model that if anybody was coming in and, you know, needed help with something, you know what I mean, like that I could be there. But yeah, definitely my favorite year. Actually, I forgot until like I was watching the show, but one of my best friends that I went to high school with, he came back from his mission this year, and I was just like, dude, like, don't you miss it? Like, this would be your age out. That you want to do this one more time? He was on the baritone line. Evan Seacrest, right, for everyone that remembers him. So that was pretty cool. And the cool thing is that like he was able to do the core, and because he was working night shifts and everything too. So like he would definitely finish up over at like Sam's Club and then be at rehearsal. So I thought that was like pretty cool. But we get to the age out circle, and that was just a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if we talked too much about that, but it's just a very cool moment to like hear the show essentially being performed for you, but also to kind of like let you know, like, hey, like you're aging out, the rest of us are still in the core, and it's kind of that reassurance of like, like everything's gonna be okay. Like, don't even worry about it. We're still gonna keep going. You know what I mean? And it's always like fun to see that, yeah. And I think like our snare tech was Chris Rogers actually, and he had like aged out a couple years ago, right? And now he's like on the staff end of things too. And I think that's like my favorite thing about the organization is kind of seeing like the like that circle or like that line of legacy of just people like always like resurfacing and like being there and trying to make it a good experience for us, just like it was for them. And then us trying to do the same thing too. But definitely my favorite year. Like everyone, like from rookies to the vets, like at least for me, like I felt like there was no bad blood anywhere, and it was a pretty good time, other than like maybe some heated moments in the season that happens with every group where it's just like everyone's just trying to get the show as perfect as possible. But every time we just had like our breaks or we were off doing whatever on like a free day, it was just a good time. Actually I remember that the snare actually a good amount of the battery, I think it was mostly the snare line, we had a Korean barbecue rehearsal before, which was not the best move because the following day like people were definitely in and out of the line, because they had to like take care of their business, you know what I mean? And so like so they go be like, hey, where's this person? He's gonna be late, he's having stomach problems. It's like, okay, all right, cool, let's go ahead and take some aids. And then like one of us was like, hey Nico, we gotta go use the restroom. Like people are just like in and out, everyone's taking turns packing it off, like so. But again, it was just like good times, and it was one of those like as silly as it was and as frustrating as that could have been, there was just so many good vibes and so much trust within the line and the staff that it was like, okay, it's a minor inconvenience, but we're gonna be like, again, we're gonna be all right. So we were definitely treated like professionals, which I thought was really cool. Like we were definitely adults, So.
Great. I have a question for everybody, rookies, and maybe you too, Mark, because I don't know if the core went out of state your other 3 years, but you can still answer it at least for your year. But how did it feel for all you guys to go out of state on a tour? So I'll start for Ariana.
I really, really liked it because for me, it was my first time going out of state. So just getting that experience, I loved it. And just getting like a whole different like atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah.
Dean?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
How did it feel to go out of state for a tour? Like you're not home, you're out, well, like sleeping in gyms, but but you're out of state with a whole bunch of people that, you're putting a show together.
It was probably like, I'm gonna say the most fun thing I've ever done. Probably in core, like it was the most. How do I say this? It was like the first time I actually like went out of state, like on bus. Like it's just a really weird, like the surreal, like just getting on a bus with like just my brother and then just all these people. Like I literally just finished my first year of high school, and then just like bam, come with me to. Robert's like, come with me to do this. Impulse. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then we just get on the bus, go to like Utah, and I'm in Idaho. It was just like, I was like, how did I get here? But it was fun though, because I mean, like, I feel like we made plenty of memories like on the road. So it was a fun time. It was really fun.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, I think years before, I'm pretty sure we also went out of state. I remember going out of state. Maybe there was like one where we just stayed in California. But I know that like this might be the unpopular opinion, but like I definitely felt like going out of state it was just like we didn't really get to experience the state, right, guys? Like I'm not crazy, right? It's not like we went to Utah and then got to like experience everything Utah had to offer. Like we did the same thing, you know. Even if we were in California, like we rehearsed, we did the show. I think the best part is when you're performing out of state and then people know who you are, right? So it's like people are familiar with the Impulse logo and the organization. So when we do go somewhere, it's like, oh, cool, like they know us, like they were familiar with the logo, or they knew, you know, like just who we are, right? But unless we had like a free day, I think our free day was just coming back from tour, and I think we had a day in Henderson, Nevada, right, where realistically, you know, you're not like talking to your friends and family, go, you know, where's like a good place to go right now? Henderson, Nevada, like, but being with your friends and like, you know, away from family, well, unless your family's like in the Corps, I mean, we can have fun anywhere, really, right? Even like getting out, like just if the bus had to, you know, go off to the side for a short minute, like everyone goes out of the bus and, you know, we're all having a good time there, right? And so, but yeah, like going out of state was fun. The terrain, that's always different, right? When like the level changes, you know, and like how much oxygen, you know, you're able to take in, like, and you kind of have to get used to that during rehearsal, but you know, for the most part, like it wasn't, like it was cool. It was cool, but it wasn't like we got to experience what every state had to offer, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And I'll end with the tuba section because, you know, we're always the best section. Xander, how was it like for you to go out of state on a tour?
Know, it wasn't as much the going out of state. I'd been out of state a bunch of times at that point. It was more the relationships that I built with people that have lasted until today. Alex Ye was Patrick's brother, was also on tour with us that year, and Trevor obviously, and all three of us are still friends and still reference various incidents from tour in 2014 in our like everyday conversation.
And Trevor, how about you? How was it like to go on a tour out of state?
Yeah, kind of picking off building the individual relationships, getting the chance to see the kind of inter-core relationships and how the whole organization of DCI cares for its own. I have a really vivid memory of the first show we did on tour was up in Northern California, and there was another open class Corps, City Sound, their truck had broke down. They didn't have staff. Their staff let the buses go with the members so that they could get there, and the Mandarin staff actually tacked and helped them run their show for the day when their staff wasn't available. We invited them over and we fed them out of our food truck, and then we had an ice cream social with all of their members. The way that DCI opens up and takes care of itself and those relationships you can build even outside of your own Corps is something that's really stuck with me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. I don't know if Aaron, if we have any questions from Facebook or any comments, but
we don't have any questions. We have a bunch of people saying hello. Holly Stewart says she misses everybody. Chris Mathis said those are two solid tuba players. And Martha Baba said that Trevor was the best helper and recruiter when she was running the booth, which is saying something because I'm pretty sure she was the recruiter forever. She recruited for the Corps since like 2000, if I remember right. So that's high praise coming from the Baba dynasty. But we don't have a lot going on Facebook, and we're reaching the end of this. So if you tuned in, and this was our 2014 year for it's Dusk to Dawn show. Next week, we're going to be doing 2015 interpolation. Please tune in. It's at 6 o'clock. Also, alumni, we are going to do another after hours session. It's going to be on September 27th. We'll have more information about that on our Facebook this week. Basically what it is it's a non-live event where we can share all the stories we would like to that are appropriate for Impulse alumni only. So make sure to keep your eye out for that session, and we'd love to have you. You can learn more about us on our Facebook page, our Instagram, or on our website at www.impulseyouth.org. So thank you all very much, and we hope to see you next week.